paddles, buttons, trigger stops, hall sticks, 1 millisecond response times, 1 minute response times, the good, the bad, and the absolutely hideous. This is an ultimate comparison of the most capable budget Xbox Pro controllers ranging from $25 to $100, which is what I consider the budget range for most Pro controllers, after which you have the $130 to $200 range, where a lot of other Pro controllers exist, but I'll have a separate video for those. There were just too many options in the budget category, so I thought they deserve their own video. We have one wireless option. Guess how much that one is. We got controllers with clicky buttons. One of them even has anti-stick or thumbsticks. We're going to be starting our list from the cheapest, going to the most expensive, and I'll be dispensing notes and useful information along the way instead of doing something like a point system, which isn't as straightforward, but all of these devices have their own uses. Links to Amazon listings as well as my reviews, if they exist, will be in the description below, with final recommendations and warnings given in the conclusion. The lineup we have today is 9 devices total, starting with the PowerA Enhanced, which can be found on Amazon for between $25 and $30. The PowerA Spectra, which can be found for around $45.
My fucking god, this video was made ages ago. PowerA rebranded the Spectra into the Lumectra, which they've done this with other controllers. It's the exact same device, the exact same price, different name. So since that's what they sell now, that's what'll be in the description, and whenever I mention the Spectra, just keep in mind I'm actually talking about the Lumectra because they're the same thing. Now on to the rest of the devices.
The 8BitDo Ultimate, Turtle Beach Reactor, and GameSir G7 and G7 SE, which all can also be found for about $45. The PowerA Fusion Pro 3, which is currently $80. The Victrix Gambit, which is $100. And last but not least, we have the Elite Series 2 Core, which can regularly be found for between $100 and $130 online. And I think of everything here, that controller has the most to lose.
So if I lose to these bums, I'll never be able to show my face in public ever again.
Will the Elite Series 2 Core lose to a pack of bums? Probably. I guess you'll have to stick around and find out, so be sure to hit the things.
But before we do all that shit, I have to tell you guys about today's sponsor, PCBWay, a longtime sponsor of the channel who helped do this shit right here. They're also helping my buddy Marius in creating the greatest Hall effect thumbsticks of all time, although it is taking quite a bit. That's not the fault of PCBWay though, that's just other things. Their turnaround times are actually pretty quick, and their shipping is relatively quick as well. So if you're looking to build a custom controller or add to your own, be sure to check out PCBWay in the description below, and thank you so much to PCBWay for sponsoring today's video.
We're starting with the cheapest device on this list, and the PowerA Enhanced controller, and it's one I honestly kind of find difficult to recommend unless you're in a really tight position, and this is all Walmart has in stock. This sets the baseline for all core characteristics of sub $50 Pro controllers: a wired connection with rumble motors, a headphone jack, and 2 rear buttons. The USB cable is also detachable, which is a huge plus in my opinion, although the port is 40 miles inland, so it's not entirely useful. Depending on the variant you own, Xbox One or Series X, the response time will be between 4 and 8 milliseconds. And that's really the only noteworthy aspect. The Enhanced is an extremely cheap controller, but it definitely feels as such, and the reliability of PowerA controllers is questionable at best. The next few devices we have on the list are much more recommendable, although they're each about 15 bucks more expensive. Like the PowerA Spectra, which is again, not entirely worth it compared to other controllers at its price point. It is okay, it has all the features that the Enhanced has, plus RGB as well as 3-way trigger stops that are absolutely dog shit. And the main reason I don't really think the Spectra is worth it is because while it does have trigger stops, the next couple of controllers on this list have hair trigger dead zones, which are infinitely more useful than trigger stops that only stop the trigger at about 40%. Or only stop the trigger by 40%, my mistake. So while the Spectra does have some pretty colors and the Enhanced is extremely cheap, under the $50 mark, PowerA doesn't have too much nowadays to offer the budget gamer. The only thing that really sets them aside is their 2-year warranty, but everything else on this list has software or hair trigger dead zones or better features for the same $45 price point as the Spectra. And that makes recommendations a little murky, like with the 8BitDo Ultimate, which is essentially, on paper, the same exact controller. It doesn't have a detachable USB cable, but it does have 2 rear buttons, rumble motors, a headphone jack, although this time it has software and it's the first device on this list to do so. So you get the same feature set as the cheap PowerA controllers minus the detachable cable, with software, which is huge. You also have on-the-fly interchangeable profiles that are very similar to the Elite Series 2, and for a $45 controller, that's pretty cool. The Ultimate X's software is available for Xbox and PC, and you can change the dead zones for the triggers for shooter games, stick dead zones for drift, fully remap any button you want on the controller, or change the intensity of the 4 rumble motors. Up until GameSir came out with their Xbox controller, which will be on this list later, I actually believe the Ultimate X to be a very competent budget Xbox Pro controller. It's very unfortunate I hadn't reviewed it up until this point. And I could say the same about our next device, but again, it's a little weird for the price, and that'll be the Turtle Beach React R. Now here's the weird thing about this controller. I'm going to lay this out very easily. I see this and the Turtle Beach Recon controllers as alternatives to the PowerA Enhanced and the Spectra. If you've had those controllers and you want something like that, or you had bad experiences with them, the Recon and Reactor controllers are for you. 2 rear buttons on the back, some audio shit because, you know, they're Turtle Beach controllers. Rumble motors, you don't get trigger stops or RGB or anything like that. But what you do get are PowerA Enhanced controllers with different materials. The track record for the Turtle Beach controllers also is pretty decent. So in terms of reliability and satisfaction, they're doing pretty well, especially compared to the PowerA controllers, which will either work forever or never.
Stop calling me out! Leave me alone!
The Reactor and the Recon also have some audio-centric gimmicky features that are okay, but not great. And this gimmicky feature they stole from Razer that no one's going to use, and in my opinion, it's okay, it's not great. Realistically, they're just wired controllers with rumble motors, 2 rear buttons, and headphone jacks, and that's really about it. However, the best sub-$50 Pro controllers were saved for last, and that will be the GameSir G7 and the G7 SE, which was its successor. GameSir made it very clear they did not come to fuck around. The G7 is made from an extremely high quality plastic with a magnetic removable faceplate, a rubber rear plate which also boasts 2 extra buttons, clicky ABXY and D-pad face buttons, and a braided detachable USB-C cable. It has software similar to the Ultimate X, but much more in depth actually, and I'll put all of its features here on screen. If you're interested in a full tutorial in that, I'll leave that in the description below. So yeah, the G7 is very hard to beat, and the G7 SE is in a class of its own. Today, both of them support the 1000 Hz 1 millisecond option in the software, but only one of them has anti-stick drift Hall effect thumbsticks. So if you were looking for a reliability recommendation, there you go. This is the world's fastest Xbox controller and the first with anti-stick drift thumbsticks, and currently one of the only ones. Remember, all of this is $45 with a 1-year warranty, which, I mean, honestly, the customer support's not great. For the money, I'm a very big fan of the G7 and the G7 SE, and links to those reviews, as well as the reviews for all these things, will be one of these corners. Now, the next device on our list is about twice the price of the devices we've been looking at so far. At about $80, we have the PowerA Fusion Pro 3, our first 4-button Pro controller on this list. And also one I really have a hard time recommending. It's got a nice carrying case and swappable sticks and a detachable USB-C cable and 3-way trigger stops, but you know, fucking tech sounds great in a vacuum when you're not comparing it to other things or don't have the features in real life to test. And I'd definitely recommend the Victrix Gambit over top of that any day of the week, even though the Gambit is a controller that has 4 buttons that are way harder to use. The Fusion Pro is only useful for its 4 rear button layout, and even then I'd really only recommend it if it was about $60, which was what the old Fusion Pro 2 was at before it was replaced by the Fusion Pro 3, and when the Fusion Pro 3 came out, they put it back at its MSRP and haven't dropped it from there since. At $80, the Fusion Pro 3 is not worth the money in my opinion. It's too close to the Elite Series 2 core in price, which can be found online at its $130 MSRP price, or, like I said, you can occasionally find it for $100. So both the controllers we're about to talk about next are infinitely more recommendable than this. Like I said, good at a discount, terrible at MSRP. If you're willing to spend an extra $20, you can have the previous title holder, or maybe it's still the current title holder for the world's fastest Xbox controller. I'm not sure how the G7 SE is doing its whole thing right now. We have the Victrix Gambit, a 500 Hz, 2 millisecond Xbox controller with an overclock on PC, so realistically it's only the fastest Xbox controller with external help. But it does come with a shit ton of features, a rubber faceplate, yeah, I know, right? 2 and 4 rear button layouts, although everyone is going to be using the 2-button layout because the 4-button layout sucks. So think of this when you're buying it as a 2-button controller with the world's fastest trigger stops, a wired connection, you got rumble motors, swappable faceplates, you got octagonal gates for like fighting games for the thumbsticks, don't use those are terrible. Swappable D-pads, carrying case, it's basically an Elite Series 2 that feels pretty cheap, not gonna lie. Physical quality of it, kind of dog shit. 2-year warranty, cool, but Victrix, their customer support is awful. Like, the customer support for the Titanic was actually better. I mean, the customer support for the Titanic didn't take 2 months to get there or whatever. And the piece of resistance, unlike the Fusion Pro, this does have software, granted, pretty buggy, pretty shit, but it's there, and when it works, it's pretty cool. So again, even though it's a little shaky, you got a very long warranty in 2 years, the fastest trigger stops of any controller I've ever used to this day. And you have some other extremely useful pro features like the swappable sticks, the D-pads, and the rear buttons. The reliability of Gambits are extremely shaky. The PowerA controllers and the Elite Series 2 core are also extremely shaky. So for me to specifically point that out for the Gambit wouldn't really be fair. However, I will talk shit about the Elite Series 2. Only because it's Microsoft's controller. They make this controller and it's this dog shit. Listen, screw the fact that when this controller was released, not the Elite Series 2 core, but the Elite Series 2, screw the fact that when it was released, it had a 3-month warranty, which at the time, I'll remind you again, was the shortest warranty on the whole market, including the warranties from custom controllers, which usually don't even want to give them to you in the first place. While the features are awesome, it's very unreliable. However, when all the accessories are taken away and it's priced at about $100, $130 at the maximum, it's easier to recommend. The Elite Series 2 core, I'm just gonna call it the Elite Series 2, it has a shit ton of features. It doesn't come with the paddles when you buy the Elite Series 2 core, but you can buy a separate set of paddles for like $10 on Amazon or eBay, and if you wanted to buy the whole set of extra accessories, it'd be like $20-30. This is the only wireless controller on this list, and to my knowledge, one of the cheapest wireless Xbox controllers out there for Pro controllers specifically. Wireless Pro controllers are especially difficult to come by. A lot of them use 2.4 gigahertz wireless, which a lot more are starting to do that. And while the connection both wired and wireless is amongst the slower controllers, you get 4 rear paddles, very usable, some very nice 3-way trigger stops that are very high quality, metal swappable thumbsticks, a swappable D-pad, all of which you don't actually get. Great software though, and a 1-year warranty from a company that isn't as shaky as Victrix, which is a huge plus in my opinion because Victrix takes months to respond to their emails. Do you guys kind of see what's going on at the end of the spectrum here? How the Fusion Pro, the Gambit, and the Elite Series 2 core aren't nearly as holy shit, this is actually very much recommendable as the $45 controllers. There's a bit of a reason for that. And to wrap that up, we're gonna wrap this up. In summary, this is Fury versus Ngannou, and the Elite Series 2 got absolutely washed.
Chitty chitty bang bang, nigga.
So since we just came from the latter half of the spectrum, the $80 to $100 range, we'll start there. Between the Fusion Pro, the Victrix Gambit, and the Elite Series 2 core, the Victrix Gambit and the Elite Series 2 core are the more interesting options. The Gambit should be thought of as fastest trigger stops, 2 rear buttons, not 4, and it comes with all of its accessories. So the carrying case, swappable sticks, swappable D-pads. The Elite Series 2 core, while it does have a warranty that's a bit more trustworthy, doesn't come with as many accessories, not nearly. And even with its accessories, in my opinion, it's a bit of a similar experience to the Victrix Gambit, just at a higher level of quality, and again, with a warranty that's a little more trustworthy. It is also wireless, which is like a huge thing for people. So depending on what you're looking for, wired, wireless, accessories, I don't mind having not accessories, fast trigger stops, doesn't really matter. Those two are going to be your options at the $80 to $100 range. It's also worth noting that because of the Gambit's button configuration, using 4 paddles on the Elite Series 2 is infinitely easier than using the 4-button option on the Gambit. Now, overall, GameSir, in my opinion, has the best controllers on this list because they strike a perfect balance between their price and the features that they offer. While they are wired controllers, they're decently quick wired controllers. While they are cheap, they are high quality, and they also come with a good warranty. And the features that they offer are literally unbeatable for the price. Nothing else comes close at that price point. You'd have to find a controller that is of a higher price to be able to compete. And everything on the list listed before the GameSir controllers, while useful in one way or another, I kind of again see them as alternatives to the GameSir G7 and G7 SE. i.e. if you don't like or can't use, or they're unreliable, or you have some problem with GameSir. Basically, if for one reason or another you don't want to or can't use a GameSir controller, I could see me recommending the Ultimate X from 8BitDo. PowerA's Spectra and Enhanced controllers are good at a discount if they're really the only option you have. And the Turtle Beach controllers, the Recon and the Reactor, are again kind of alternatives in my opinion to the PowerA controllers if you want something that isn't going to break and is very simple and doesn't need something like software or trigger stops or this, that, or the other. So the ultra cheap controllers are good in a pinch, but the $45 controllers are generally good if you're looking to get the best for your money. But yeah, just like me being the undisputed king of these controller reviews, these are the undisputed kings of budget Xbox controllers, and in my opinion, the GameSir controllers are very much on course to being some of the best Xbox controllers, period. I think 2024 is going to be very interesting though. We had some really interesting devices come out in late 2023, and it makes me think that we have some rather interesting both high-end and lower-end controllers coming throughout this next year. I have been writing this video for 2 years. Well, closer to 3 at this point. I've been writing notes down about budget controllers because I specifically want to do a budget thing and then an ultimate everything because there's a trillion Xbox controllers. We'll do this for PlayStation and Switch as well. I've been talking about doing this video and all of these videos since like 2020. All of that will be making its way to the channel this year, so if you're curious or interested or want to laugh, well, I don't know about laugh. These videos are a little more serious. You can subscribe or some shit. I enjoyed making this one. If you want to enjoy it, drop a like and subscribe. And I'll be seeing you guys in my next big comparison. Take it easy.